Okay, welcome back. This is Adam Stoughton, and we're looking at week 9 for AER220. You're just about to the end of your training. I hope you're thoroughly enjoying it. As we look into week 9, things are going to become more cohesive as we're pulling everything together in this final stage of training. Now, what you'll actually complete this week is you're going to read all of Chapter 10. Now, I know the syllabus says 9A and 10A. 9A is a review chapter of something you've already read. It's the aviation weather. Now we're looking at 10, which is going to be primarily the content having to do with the GLs. It's going to be IFR cross-country planning as well as emergencies associated with instrument flying. So the ground lessons that you complete in Jeppesen Online are going to be GL 26, 27, and 28. And you'll also notice that there's a Stage 3 stage check. Now this stage check is a proctored exam, just as we talked about with the Stage 2 stage check. So we need to set up a time to come in and speak with myself or one of the other personnel here at CAU and arrange a time to come in and have your exam proctored, in which case you'll do it while the proctor is monitoring. It doesn't have to be direct observation, but just has to be aware that you're here and working on it. The discussion post has to do with cockpit tasks and how you're going to deal with a tight time over task management. Now, task saturation is a very real threat for aviation. As flight crews experience tighter tolerances from ATC as well as more complex aircraft requiring more input for the computer to do what you need it to do, you can easily become task saturated. You have to learn how to handle that. That's an important skill for single pilot cockpit resource management as well as crew cockpit resource management. So keep that in mind as you're conducting the discussion post. The content itself is going to cover cross-country flying for IFR, as well as emergencies that could be experienced while you're flying cross-country IFR. So everything's pretty much going to culminate into these last chapters as you learn how to actually conduct yourself as an instrument pilot in the air traffic control system. Now, when you're going through this, I want you to take notes in your margins or keep notes on your notepad or tablet, whichever you use, and consider how you would actually react in those situations. That's very important because a lot of times when I do stage checks with people and I get into an oral, I'll put them in a scenario and I'll ask, okay, how would you handle this particular scenario based upon the facts you have presented for you? So it's important that you do ask yourself, okay, well, I would conduct the flight from here on out this way, and this way. I would conduct my planning from here on out this way, and this way. And once I get to the airport, I would ensure that I conduct these steps to set up for the approach. This is the kind of thinking that you need to have for instrument. You should always be ahead of the aircraft, and this is a fundamental skill that you need to employ as an instrument pilot. And again, another emergency that you might experience, which is less of an emergency than you might think, is lost communications. How would you actually handle it if you were flying under instrument in the clouds and you lost communications? Maybe a radio fried out on you, or maybe you lost the frequency. But the end result is you can't contact who you're trying to contact. How would you actually handle that? And think of all the nervousness that you would experience with that, and then how it would be hard to keep a straight line of thought while you're conducting the procedures. That question more than likely will come up more than one time in your training, especially on your check ride. It's a very popular check ride question, so keep that in mind. So as you look into week 9, consider pulling it all together, how you'll conduct an actual instrument flight, and how you'll handle the emergencies. I look forward to talking to you next week for our final week, week 10.